To the side note, looking over here, I'll show my data listed that these bushes need to be cut. Dear rabbis, family, and friends, as I sit at my computer, at whatever time in the morning, night, I find myself lost. As I have been dreading this moment since June 11th,
Detour. As we've heard today, Zeta may have just been the most complicated, simple man I've ever met. For those who knew him, you know what I mean. He's able to be selfless and yet stubborn, easygoing and yet was not going to change his ways. He was soft and yet hard in a way that I've never seen in another person. I'll try to explain it through some stories. The complicated Zeta always seemed to have the odds not in his favor, but he'd find a way to beat them all the same. He survived Nazis, Siberian work camps, language barriers, and other obstacles throughout his life. Despite being the runt of his family, he was a successful boxer and soccer player and never backed down from a bully or injustice. If you asked Zeta a question, hope you did not expect to receive a straight answer. Most probably the answer with the question, an old porcupine trick to many salespeople, but to Zeta was just second nature. He had his opinions but preferred to hear the thoughts of others, then would kibitz with them to lighten the mood if it got too serious. Complicated Zeta is hard for me to put into words. My simple Zeta, I remember, went to work all day, would come home to some fresh bread, whatever Bubby had made, which was always delicious, Kamala, even just her tuna fish. With scallions, secret ingredient. We would play chess, or he would ask me how I was doing. He always enjoyed a drink at Kiddush or any other happy occasion. I recently gave him a picture of Debbie, myself, and him having l'chaim at our engagement party with Bubby in the picture. He took the opportunity to let me know every time we spoke how much he loved that picture. His love for his life came from his family, his friends, his community. We see here today, and the many who cannot make it. His optimism was contagious. Something about him made you believe anything was possible. There's no limit for what he would give to his family. Despite working as hard as any immigrant, it broke his heart to hear about Debbie and my long nights at the office. With Bubby's passing, he took on the mantle of worrying for the world, and often told me he would win the lottery one day so he wouldn't have to work so hard, despite the fact that he still worked as hard as anyone until he couldn't. Life was black and white to Zeta. He went to minyan and shul because that's what Jews do. He always put money in the pushka because it wasn't by his might that he had earned that money, but by Hashem's will. A few stories I think might clarify. Zeta taught me respect for all humans who reciprocate respect. During the riots of the 60s in Newark, when many businesses were vandalized, Zeta's employees watched over the Rosenberg business because of the way the Rosenbergs watched over them. He treated his inferiors like equals. Zeta made friends everywhere he went. Coming over from the boat from Europe, he befriended the captain by playing ping pong and the priest by playing chess. When an anti-Semite on the boat tried to accuse Zeta of something or other, the captain and the priest saw right through them. Zeta was an athlete. He was such a good soccer player that several decades later, when he was one of the honorees at the Havastor Yom HaShoah program, a fellow DP camp member saw Zeta on stage, and although Zeta had never met him, the man approached him to recount in awe watching Zeta play soccer in the camp. My father told me this morning something I never realized. He was so good. He was so good that no one could catch him. He was so talented that after the Holocaust, some Germans saw him in the DP camp playing and approached him saying, "We want you to be on our team." He obviously was not interested, But they kept coming back and coming back, offering more and more money to the point where he just had to say yes, but on one condition. He would wear a blue mug and dugget on his shorts as he traveled around Germany. The owner agreed. He traveled around Germany, being Kirchhoff, beating the Germans on the soccer field. At my age of 5, Zane Garrett taught me chess and poker. Poker paid better, so I stuck with it. I find my memories of Zeta playing poker in the Catskills kind of entertaining now. At the time, I didn't really understand the game. But I knew if I came by, it would put a smile on his face, and I would get a ginger ale. If I stayed long enough, a few dollars once his luck had changed. Zeta knew how to barter. When I bought my second car in college, he made me promise not to leave it without him showing up. He came in and immediately demanded to see the car. And upon seeing it, asked the price, and was told the price said, "That's not low enough, we will leave unless you lower it." As he grabbed my arm to walk out the door, the salesman in the middle of the showroom started screaming, "Sir, your grandson has done an amazing job. I will not go any lower, and if you leave, I'll be happily to rip up this contract because I am losing money." Zeta's look of pride, I will not forget it, and I drove out with that car. Zeta taught me about meeting client expectations and hard work. During a blizzard, he came in to find one of his drivers was unwilling to drive through the blizzard, was too nervous, too afraid. Zeta, being an expert tractor-trailer driver, said, "Get in the passenger seat." He drove up overnight and got there on time and made the delivery. Zeta knew how to sweet-talk the ladies. All my and Denny's girlfriends love Zeta. He made each one of them feel beautiful and special, and many of them have called throughout the past 2 weeks since the stroke to see how he was doing. My most recent visit, I was playing cards with my Zeta and my mother. Sharp as everything. He was able to still bluff on anything and knew what he was doing. And the key was that he was just happy to be with his family. Most importantly, he of course had to tell me, for possibly the 200th time, his great accomplishment playing his good friend Ziggy, and how he had bluffed him, and they managed to grab his cards out of his hand to know what he was doing. Walking into the shul, I truly believed I may have Esrim. In our last phone conversation, we more or less followed the usual formula. He picked up and said, "My Aaron, oh, how are you?" He then went on to tell me he loves me, and then asked how Debbie and I are working, which was usually followed by telling me to take better care of Debbie. He would then ask, "Have I told you how much I love you too? You are such a beautiful couple." And then again, tell me how much he loved me. I can go on and on about the great adventures of Sidney Rosenberg and the love and kindness of my Zeta, and I will remember that. So today, I hope you will join me in Shana, as there is a symbolic glass to Zeta's life, because we've been so annoyed at us today for being sad. He does not want to cause anyone pain or sorrow. His goal was always, he was happy if we were happy, if the community was happy. So on that note, L'chaim, Zeta. L'chaim.
I'm good now. Take two. Unless, does it rattle your back?
You got it.
Good job. Okay. Mine's a little long. Okay. So, I was sitting at my computer last night, dreading this moment since June 11th, and I was shocked to hear my strong, healthy, Bobby would say poo-poo-poo, spirited Zeta had suffered a massive stroke, which caused severe damages. I was having trouble because I do not know where to start. My Zeta was a man of many stories, who could talk in 6 different languages, but also a great listener. Usually my Uncle Gary is a history buff encyclopedia, and who I'm sure can go into more detail and fact, but I will try to do some justice here with the time I have. The information I'm about to tell you is from an interview I had with my Zeta and uncle my senior year of high school at Frisch in 2008 for a term paper in my history class I titled My Zeta's Journey from Poland. My Zeta, Sidney Rosenberg, was born in 1925 in Ilona, Poland, in the Galicia region, where he lived for 14 years in the shtetl with his parents, 2 brothers, and 3 sisters. He was one of 6. The family spoke Yiddish as its first language, as was the practice of all the Jews living in the shtetls. He attended Cheder, public school, and Jewish parochial school during the week, and synagogue on weekends. Painted on the inside walls and ceilings of the synagogue were many scenes described in the Bible. My Zeta said it was inspiring, and every year at Kol Nidre, Yom Kippur night, many non-Jewish Poles would enter to gaze upon the indoor architecture. His parents rented a 2-room house from a Jewish landlord. I was told it can be deduced from the direction in which he winds his tefillin around his arm that his patrilineal ancestors were Hasidic. Zeta's father supported the family as a wholesaler who brought farm and other products which he sold to retailers and to Polish government agencies, especially the military. His mother was a housewife and a seamstress. In 1941, President Roosevelt of the United States informed Stalin that America would provide support to the Soviets on condition that labor camp inmates who were not Soviet citizens would be released. As a result, the entire 14-member family traveled by cattle car south to the Republic of Tajikistan, where Charles, the second brother before my Zeta, eventually became the chauffeur for Tajikistan's president named Papa. And Zeta and his father supported the family by selling whatever was available, especially black market vodka. In May 1946, 1 year after the defeat of the Nazis, the family returned to Poland to find that Jews who attempted to resettle there were more likely to be killed, so they raced to the American-occupied zone of Berlin, the capital of Germany. Along the way, my Zeta helped smuggle Jewish orphans to various destination points from which they would travel to Palestine. From Berlin, the family split up and settled in a number of displaced person camps throughout Germany. By the time Zeta had become fluent in Russian, German, in addition to Polish, Yiddish, and Hebrew, which he had grown up with. In 1948, Zeta, my great-grandfather, also Zeta, I guess, on Zeta's side, his wife, their oldest daughter Mina, and husband Fima, and son 1-year-old Rafi, immigrated to the newly established state of Israel. Zeta attended a technical school run by Ort, where he trained to become a tool and die maker and supported himself by playing professional soccer in displaced person camp league, and by selling black market coffee, tea, and cigarettes purchased from American soldiers stationed in Germany, whom he spoke to in German. By 1954, the rest of the family had immigrated to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and to New York City. Zeta started out as a tool die maker, but joined his brother Charles and his brother-in-law Teddy to form a corporation that evolved from trucking and commercial moving to office furniture and installations, which was in business from 1952 to 2006. Now that is it for my history lesson of the day, and into the good deep stuff. In 1954, Sidney Rosenberg married my bubby, Anna. Or who he referred to as his queen and Hartzell. Together they raised my Uncle Gary and my mother Miriam in a Jewish Orthodox home, originally in Brooklyn and then Inglewood, which Baruch Hashem, the home still stands to this day at 365 on Ocean Avenue. Growing up with Bubby and Zeta in town, in walking distance even, was a treat. Seeing them in shul together, because as some of you know, they were usually the first ones to arrive. They helped raise me and made me It made me the person I am today. I find myself fortunate and blessed to have a grandpa and a Zeta in my life. Zeta was one of the most loving, caring, affectionate people. He would get any and everything for his family. He would always say how he hated to see me sad, upset, and God forbid cry. How it hurt him. So I instantly had to turn my frown upside down. About 3 weeks ago was Father's Day, and as I was looking for a card to get to my Zeta, I noticed there were no cards for Zetas, especially mine. There was a Poppy, Grandpa. A common term I've heard to describe my Zeta is special. and I cannot nor will I deny that. He is one of a kind. As much as people say I was a great-granddaughter, I had it easier. Part of Zeta's daily routine was davening, and saying Tehillim, which takes up most of his day. He usually was not ready to do anything until 12 p.m. noon. When Zeta got sick, I made sure to pray for him, and with him I would say the daily Tehillim portion by his bed so that he would not miss a day. And I hope to continue this for many reasons, but also because I know it was important to him. Our Zeta was a proud, yet modest and stubborn man, especially when telling him to bring or wear a coat. I will never forget the demeanor and glee from ear to ear Zeta had at Aaron's wedding, or how he made sure to have a front row seat to hear Gary Ling from the Torah. And Mommy and Daddy, the countless times Zeta would tell me what a great mother I have is innumerable, and how much he loves me. Debbie. Sorry. Okay. I'm not sure how much you are aware of this. Besides for the love Zeta had for you, it was very important to him that we get along. It was important to him, so it was important to me. He saw how happy you make his Aaron, and was so glad Aaron got and has you. He would tell me how you truly balance each other and bring out the best in each other. Zeta and I share a common interest in sports. We are both Baruch Hashem natural athletes. I will always cherish the memories and be thankful for the times Zeta came to my basketball games, plays I acted in, and I think his favorite was my swim meets. Another pride and joy of his was hearing me and Aaron sing. I'll spare you now, but he especially loves to hear us sing Zmira on Shabbos. Actually, this Friday before Shabbos, when I visited my Zeta, I sang to him the portion of Hallel that is in the weekly Friday Tehillim, but how apropos is this, since today and on Shabbat was Rosh Chodesh. I would not want him to miss hearing that. He would tell me that there is a love for a daughter, and a granddaughter is something else. We would have discussions of all different topics. The Shabbos before this horrible incident, my friend Judith and I decided to join me after lunch at her house to go visit Zeta. Judith and her family to my Zeta are an extension of our family. A common topic of my discussion with Zeta, especially after Bubby passed away, was marriage. He told us the story of how he met Bubby and how guys are scared and intimidated to talk to such pretty girls like us. Zeta was a smooth talker and loved to drink. No matter what I was wearing and how many times he'd see me, I see him saying he would tell me how beautiful I am, ask if what I was wearing was new, even if I'd worn it 10 times before. He would tell me he could never be mad at me no matter what I said or did to him because he was my Zeta. In addition to this term paper I did in 2008, there was another project I took upon myself with the help of Sue Stotsky. I don't remember the directions exactly. I just know it was for a scholarship to do something related to the Holocaust. Again, I decided to use my Zeta as my inspiration. Anyone who has been to my house has probably seen this artwork I have done. Without going into too much detail, I made my Zeta the center of it, and in an essay I wrote, "Just like I am the center of my Zeta's world, he is the center of mine." As much as people say he was lucky to have me as a granddaughter, I was really the lucky one. We know Zeta was a family man who he loved with all his heart. Anyone who met him could not help but fall in love with him. He was the life of the parties, As my mom likes to say, everyone danced with Uncle Sidney. Spending summers with him and my bubby in the Catskills at Kutcher's was always the highlight of my summer. Playing shuffleboard, going swimming, being his good luck charm at the poker table, where I got a chocolate bar, not ginger ale, out of it, and spending time at the nightclub are moments I will cherish forever. Zeta liked to tell the story about one time when I was a baby, my mom brought Aaron and I to visit Bubby and Zeta at Kutcher's. One night, Mommy went out, and Zeta was left on babysitting duty. After Aaron, being the good sleeper that he is, still is, was the good child, I was not so simple. I did not sleep. I would cry, scream, unless my Zeta was holding me. The comfort of his hugs, his shoulder to lean on, is something I will miss forever. When I cry is a mix of tears, of sadness and happiness as well. The overwhelming response to the news of my Zeta's misfortune makes this hard and easy at the same time. From family, friends, and even our hairdresser, it's clear that Zeta was loved by many and his memory will live on. As much as I know, I will always be his Shana Madola, and Zeta is at peace now with my bubby and whatever other relatives, brothers, parents. I will always miss him. He is my heart's love. Sorry, that was a little.
First, I'm going to give a short presentation that my brother would have given, but he wants me to speak for both of us. My father had three primary concerns: family, religion, and the state of Israel. His devotion to family was demonstrated by his having given all his money in 1952 to my two uncles to start the family trucking, moving, and furniture business. If the business succeeded, he would join them, and if it failed, he would take the complete loss. Additionally, in the last few years of my mother's life, he handled 100% of her care 24/7. With respect to religion, every morning my brother would wake him up 40 minutes before the time of Kriyat Shema, so that he would always say Birchat HaTorah and the Shema on time. He would then daven Shacharis for over an hour, saying every word carefully. That was followed by over 1 hour of recitation of Tefillin, which was in fulfillment of a vow he had made as a teenager that if he escaped from the Soviet Union, he would say Tehillim every day. My brother had to regularly buy different editions so that he could learn new commentaries. Oddly enough, the last edition in large type was the Art Scroll Rosenberg edition. After a light breakfast, he would spend several hours reading every Jewish periodical he could find to stay abreast of events related to Israel. This activity was a continuation of the contributions he had made to the Jewish state as far back as 1949, when he sent virtually all the proceeds of his activities to his parents in Israel and to distribute them to the new Israeli immigrants. He was universally loved and respected by family, friends, and business associates for his kindness and integrity. Our family and community will dearly miss him. A lot of you have come over to me today to say what a special man my dad was, and I really appreciate it. But as the Rabbi Golden said, and I have to say we're very lucky to have both Rabbi Golden and Rabbi Ganak in our community because they've really been so helpful during this time. So thank you all for coming to celebrate my dad's life. My dad was very modest, so it's fitting that he died on Rosh Chodesh when you're not supposed to eulogize. His life is a remarkable work of nonfiction that would have made a great movie, full of mysticism, religion, action, suspense, music, and romance. There was a single man who used to visit their town in Milanov named Tzadok. He did not have any children or family, and my grandmother used to invite him to eat with them or stay for Shabbat. Soon after the man died, my grandmother was pregnant with my dad. In those days, you didn't know if you were having a boy or a girl. Tzadok came to her in a dream and said, "You will have a son, and you will name him after me." She did. During the war, when they were already in Russia, my dad miraculously found a chicken wandering around. He had seen chickens shechted in Poland, so he shechted it, and they had a delicious treat of chicken soup. That night, Tzadok came to my grandmother in a dream and said that my dad should not shecht any more chickens because he didn't do it halachically right. So he did. I remember singing Shalom Aleichem and Eshes Chayil along with others mirrored every Friday night in my dad's Polish nikudim. He loved not Polish, but Jewish. He loved going to shul and was always on time. When my brother and I sat next to my dad, we did not say a word. Shul was for davening to Hashem, not talking. You would not dare have a trivial conversation because you were in Hashem's presence. He was so proud of my brother's landing and Chef Nachas hearing him. He would always say Gary was smart like his namesake, his great-grandfather, who was a Dayan. As a Holocaust survivor, he had more than his fair share of action. One of my favorite stories was when he got his own father out of prison. His father was arrested in Russia, and my dad followed him to where he was being held in jail, because otherwise they'd never find him. It was before Facebook and all these other medias where everything you do is publicized. When my dad went in, they threw him out. So he went around and came in a different entrance. The jail keeper told him to leave. My dad looked him in the face and said, "Do you have any children?" The jail keeper replied, "I have a boy about your age." My dad answered, "How would you feel if he saw you locked up?" The jail keeper was silent, and after a few moments said, "If you get me a certain large sum of ruble, I'll see what I can do." My dad ran home to his mother, who got the money from another Jewish man, and when my dad came back, the jail keeper couldn't believe it, that he had obtained this money, and he released my grandfather. Working with my dad, I got to watch his salesmanship firsthand. As one customer phrased it, he could sell you the Brooklyn Bridge and charge you sales tax. In all the years my brother and I worked with him, we never had a single argument. The drivers called him One-Shot Sidney because he could back up into any space with his tractor trailer in one shot. I remember once in the late 70s, we were driving to the Browns Hotel, where we enjoyed many vacations, and there was a line of cars to get into the hotel. After about 10 minutes of not moving, my dad and I got out of the car and walked to the front to see what was going on. A trailer was blocking the entire entrance. My dad motioned to the driver to get out of the vehicle. My dad backed it in 2 seconds. When he got out of the trailer, everyone on the line started clapping. J.K. Rowling writes, "If you want to know what a man is like, take a good look at how he treats inferiors, not equals." Marvin sent me that quote this morning. My dad was an enemy of prejudice and injustice. In January 1957, on the way back from a delivery that Aaron was talking about to the blizzard in Buffalo, he attempted to get a room in a motel in Schenectady, New York, for his African-American driver and himself to catch a few hours of much-needed sleep as they were exhausted. The clerk said, "You can stay, but your driver can't." He responded that if his driver couldn't stay, he would ram his tractor trailer into the motel. He backed it up a good distance and proceeded to drive forward. Right before the point of no return, the clerk ran out of the hotel screaming, "Okay, you're crazy, you can stay." Then the motel clerk said, "The driver has to come in through the back entrance." My dad said, "No, he walks in through the front door with me," and that was it. Marvin, you were the best son-in-law a man could have. The respect you showed my father is beyond compare. You walked into shul, made sure he had food and drink at the Kiddush every week. You not only sat with him, but listened patiently to all he said. I can't list all the little things you did that did not go unnoticed by either him or me. And as mentioned already, my dad was a great athlete and dancer. He always got family simchas started on the dance floor. He did a mean kazatska, and I loved dancing it with him. All my cousins wanted to dance with him. He and my mom would glide across the floor. They even won bottles of champagne for their dancing prowess. He was strong, and in the early days of the family business, he would strap a refrigerator to his back and climb up many flights to deliver it. After he had the stroke, he lost the use of his right side in speech. Even though my dad was right-handed, his left hand was so powerful and working almost to the end. He tried motioning with his left hand when he wanted, and when I, the doctor, tried to push his hand down, he could with one arm. I needed both my arms at full strength. So as not to make him do anything he didn't want to, I would reason with him while holding his hand, telling him why he needed to relax and put his arm down, and he did. He had a magnetic personality. You wanted to be around him. He taught his children and grandchildren how to drive and play chess. He loved children and was a surrogate grandfather to many in our own community. He loved Judith, Sammy, Katie, Neil, Daniel, and Michael, along with Aaron, Dandy, and Shana, and Miriam, and so many others I can't even think of. So far, I have mentioned mysticism, religion, action, suspense, and music. As every filmmaker knows, you save the best for last. That's the romance. My dad said he always wanted to marry an American girl. His landlady said to him, "Have I got a girl for you?" He made up a ruse to knock on her door and to apologize for having the wrong apartment. This way he'd get to get a peek at her. What he didn't know was that the landlady called my mom, so she knew he was coming. When my mom opened the door and he apologized for having the wrong apartment, she invited him in. She said she knew the instant she saw him that he was the man for her. Love at first sight. My dad was smitten too, as my mom was beauty and elegance rolled up into one, and she spoke Yiddish. My dad's English was still rudimentary at that time. At one point, they had an argument and did not see each other for a few weeks. My Uncle Charles saw how heartbroken my dad was. He drove to my mom's workplace in the truck, just as she was finishing the day, and offered to give her a ride home. My mom accepted. After a few blocks, she realized she was going in the wrong direction and asked him, where was he taking her? He answered, I'm taking you to Sidney. And the rest is history. Even though he had two brothers, his cousin Nathan was like a third brother to him. And as my Uncle Livish used to say, oh, what did Sidney do now? Because when they were younger, they really looked alike. And my father, who was a bit of a troublemaker, would do things, and my uncle, or my cousin, having not a clue, would usually get blamed for it. Lots of stories. It's been long enough, so I won't spare you with them. But the bottom line is they always got out of it, and they've been close. One of the hardest people it was for me to call was my cousin Nathan, because he loves me so much. Okay, it's movie, so we have an epilogue. They were together for almost 60 years, and they were absolutely devoted to each other. When my mom's health deteriorated, my mom took care of her every need full time. When I hired someone to help my mom, he sent her home, saying I could do it better. When my mom died, his heart was truly broken, as he called her his heart cello. I can still see my dad with his cane and vacuum and cane in one hand and a vacuum or a broom in the other. He went to the Jack LaLanne Health Spa every week. When he suddenly had a stroke on June 11th, his last words were, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm grateful that he was able to enjoy his grandchildren, to walk down the aisle at Aaron and Debbie's wedding. For the many years of song and dance, shuffleboard, ping pong, long drives in the car, he was so proud of my brother and me. There are no words to adequately describe his love and devotion to his entire family, sisters, brothers, nieces, nephews, and their progeny. He loved them all unconditionally. I will miss his coming to me for Shabbat and holidays. I will miss his smile, his scent, his hugs and kisses, his calling me his little girl. Looking at pictures together, he always loved looking at albums. Hearing his stories over and over, his telling me how much he believes in Hashem and that God has a plan, and we have to trust that it's all for the better. I will miss him saying Tehillim and davening. My only consolation is that he did not suffer, and he's back with his brother.